Welcome to part 2 of creating Reborn doll Steven. In part 1, we prepped the kit, got them all washed. But in the day in which we did this, here's Steven, he's so cute. He has developed a lot of lint. And that is because a silicone kit attracts so much lint. So having a good pair of tweezers is going to be your best friend. You're going to use that often. So first we're going to do some prep work on Steven, but I'm also going to show you the items that you're going to need in order to begin painting, or at least the items that I use to begin painting. So let's get comfortable, and I'm not going to worry about picking all of this. Look at that. I'm not going to worry about picking all that lint off. You see how that just wants to just jump right back onto Steven? They are like magnets at this point. And alcohol will help alleviate some of the stickiness, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. So we're just going to put them on this paper towel. This is a lint-free paper towel, as much of a lint-free as we can get. And we need to start by cutting out his little mouth, which is so perfect. And I'll show you how I do it. I don't know if there's a tried and true method for it, but I got an X-Acto knife. All right. And I'm going to stretch a little bit. And I'm going to find the natural seam. Some people start from the middle, but I find like I might slip. I'm not that good yet. So I'd rather just start here. And I'm just going to pierce the silicone and follow the line. And by stretching it a little bit, I'm giving myself some space here, because once I'm finished stretching, it pops back. See? So we have a nice deep hole. Actually, this silicone is so easy, so much easier to cut, but don't cut too far to the edges. There is still a little bit of space here. Leave that there. And Steven is 18.5, so he's a tiny little baby. What we're going to do is we're going to make sure he can accept a preemie pacifier. And as far as pacifiers are concerned, I'm using only a silicone pacifier. So this is not a difficult thing to do with this soft silicone. Now, for my purposes, I'm going to flip them a little bit. All right. If for some reason your knife slips and you do cut too far, you can always fix it. But better not to repair if you don't need to. So at this point, we're just making sure it's deep enough to accept the pacifier. So I want to make sure that I have a deep hole. And that way the mommy can have a easy time. Yeah. not to tear while you're pulling it apart. Okay. Then you can just grab it. And you can use forceps, or hemostats are better because they lock. I do have some forceps. But it's easy, it's really easy for me to grab it with my hands. Okay, do the same for side. Just clean it up a little bit. Watch your fingers. All right. Now we're going to remove this piece of silicone very carefully. And what I'm doing is I'm making sure that the opening is even, that it's not raised too much from one side to another. Also, I want to make the cuts as smooth as possible. Okay. And there we have little Steven. So I have these scissors. Okay. These are the spring scissors, and they have a curve on it. So they work really good for just cleaning up. I don't think I have much to clean up here, but I see some roughness right here. So I'm just gonna clip that out. Look at that. See how easy that is? Tweezers. I think that's good. Steven's mouth looks big enough for a pacifier, and it's fairly even. In the process of painting, you will pour some silicone in there, and it will make it smoother, so it won't look, but nobody's really gonna be looking at his mouth like that. When you put the pacifier in, really put it in like this. Some people do this, but really, how you gonna get the pacifier in if you do that? Put it in like this, and you always use a lubricant. No matter how well you paint these lips, people who use pacifiers, the lips will begin to lose some of the paint. Okay, so we have cut the lips, and that's one of the prep items that I noticed that needed to be taken care of. Another thing was I saw some webbing. Was it on this pretty little hand? Let's see. Must have been on this hand. Oh, there we go. This might not be a big deal, but best to take it off so that your paint, because your paint might pool, and that means just like gather. Oops, we're gonna use the scissors for this one. And it might clump up there. So we just kind of want an even an even distribution of paint. Not too much. And the fact that these curl or curve makes it very easy to get into these little tight spaces. Just clean that little bit up right here. You'll get so picky in the beginning. And then after a minute, you'll be like, I think that's good enough. All right, now, a very important thing that I have is just like kind of a garbage box. And that's where I just toss this stuff. I'm gonna just wipe this clean. Put everything back where it's supposed to be, because I don't know about you, but my little workstation starts getting a little crowded and I'll forget where things are. Okay, so I've checked all of the pieces and I feel confident that everything looks good enough to begin to paint. We'll save that because we will need that. Okay, now I also use a puppy pad or little pea pad. And when I do vinyl, I always use this side. But when you do silicone, it's so much better to use this side. And the reason being is that when you bounce off, you can use this to help get rid of the excess paint. Also, I use a blend of cycle paint, A and B. B is always thicker. It is really good to put your cycle paint into a little container like this. Mark them A and B, and there's a spout on there. I keep them upside down. There we go. Put you here. Put you here. I actually use B first because B is thicker, so when you're measuring, it kind of helps. Now also, I keep my instruments in this box because really, all right, alcohol. The reason that the alcohol is so important is because that helps to get rid of some of these lint. So I'll show you. I don't know if you can see all this lint that's on Steven. But if I spray them with this alcohol, and then I just take I can start wiping this lint off, and it comes off easily wherever I sprayed it. Good. So I would keep that alcohol. Okay, and I'm putting everything, like, I don't know if you can see it. I'm just putting it right there for my own ease. Okay, so now that we have a fairly lint-free Steven, another thing is to wear the proper type of clothing. You'll want to wear clothing that doesn't attract as much lint, like a shirt that's not fibrous, and then a shirt also that you don't mind wiping the lint onto the shirt. Also, see, here we go, pops right back. Now, if you get a wet paper towel, you can put the lint on the wet paper towel. It'll help you to capture the lint. Now we need a way to dry these babies. Let's spray some more here. And definitely, since I washed them yesterday and I left them to sit air dry in my house. They got a lot of lint on them. You have to be careful because you can't get every piece of lint off, but it'll be attracted to the silicone paint as well. And you will paint these into the baby. Nobody wants to see your hair on their baby. Okay. We'll do more cleansing, but let's start with the how are we going to dry these babies? I use let me move my camera a little bit. I use this rack. It's just a little doll rack, and it has some hooks on it. Now, how do we get them hung on the rack? I got a bag of zip ties from Amazon. These are basically too thick to use to get your baby. You can't really use it to put your baby together, but it's perfect for hanging your baby. You don't have to use zip ties. I mean, whatever you have, if you got some cloth or something like that, some rope, some string, use that. I do want to show you how I actually am doing this. I'm taking one and putting it in there, and I'm going to tighten this around the post, the neck post. Okay, so it's pretty tight on there. Not so tight that you can't cut it off when you're done. You do need scissors for this, but I'm gonna use clippers because it'll be easier. All right, and then make sure you turned it the right way. And then you just put it through here. And then that way you can hang them. See? See? So get these clippers. There we go. Just clip it. It makes it so much easier. Also, save a little bit of room so that this doesn't touch the paint. So that don't make it super tight. There's no reason for it to be super tight. Okay, we put it in our garbage. Put these away. Put these scissors away. We don't need them anymore for now. All right, now I'm gonna show you my kit. So I'm going to take the things out so you can see what we're going to be working with. First, there are these cups. This is to mix your paint. I keep my alcohol at hand so I can refill a little alcohol container as needed. Then we keep our little A and B on hand. Here is a paint tray, and you will need that for like little detail work. Here is some paint thinner, and I use Bob Ross paint thinner. I just put it in a little pour spout, make it easier, makes life easier. The Bob Ross is odorless, that's why I like it, but you can use all different types of solvent. I also use these gloves. Now these are latex-free gloves, so when you order them, be sure that it does, when you order them, it does indicate that they are latex-free, even though they say the word vinyl. So we're gonna need those. I use those. I found that pouncing with these little spongy things, and I did get these off of Amazon, they make it so much easier. It doesn't pull as much paint off as using these wedges. These also are latex-free cosmetic wedges. And the kind that I have, so let's take a couple of them out. They're porous. So they got little holes in them. So we're gonna put some of those there. And then I need some wooden little stir sticks, a lot of them, because you can't, when you don't want your silicone to cure, you will have to make sure that you don't dip the stick in both A and B. Now we have paint brushes. These are incredibly cheap, inexpensive paint brushes because they don't last that long. Once the silicone gets in them, they they don't last very long. Even though you quickly, clean them, these are really good for getting silicone that's pulled in between the fingertips and fingers and corners of the mouth. So there's different sizes of this. I'm not exactly sure where I got these. I may have got them from Bountiful Baby, Dolls by Sandy, or McPherson's, one of those. And they'll be in the painting supplies. So that's basically it. I have some more paint brushes that I actually have already started using, which is in this box. The majority of the colors that I use for my ethnic babies are this espresso, which is Sam espresso. And you have to shake them up before you use them. I also like to use this Sam Crimson Oxide, which is kind of a brown. And basically that's what we're going to start with. This brush, see, I've cleaned it, but it's already sticky. So that's done. See how this brush does. Sticky, but I can still use the top of it. So we'll keep that out in case we need that. For a baby, ooh, this one, I think I didn't wash this. This is done. You can also use these to pick up. This one is kind of dirty now, so we can get rid of that. All of this stuff is going into my garbage thing. Here's one that is really still good, so we're gonna use that. This paintbrush is really good for doing like fine things like fingertips. So we're not gonna worry about that right now. Also, I like having these little squeegee measures. This is gonna be for my thinner. So we'll definitely use that. This is a little scoop because I find that the scoop that for some reason this doesn't want to pour out into wherever I want it to be poured into. So we use a scoop. And these paints require you to mix it with A and B. Here's a sample of what some of the silicone looks like once it's cured. So this pops right out of one of these cups once it dries, once it cures. There we go. Actually, there might be another brush that I want to use. Yeah, this one. That one is gone. That one is gone. this one is still pretty good. This one is still pretty good. We need a medium brush now. Like this. So we'll use that one to paint with. All right, now you can wash your dolls off. Sometimes what I like to do also is to have a little table nearby. So I'll show you my setup. So we have our dolls sitting here, ready. You want to have a big enough space so that they don't touch when they're curing or drying. I like to also have this table here. And I also have this, which is supposed to spin, but it don't really spin. But like when I was doing a full body, I could just put the baby's head off of here and I can just work on that. So I may not use this, but sometimes I just need to move away from this because this moves a lot when the baby's sticky. So that's my setup. Stay tuned for part 3, where we will begin the painting.